What is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Money Podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
And I'm James.
How are you doing this week, James?
Yeah, not too bad, mate.
Good. Anthony's not here.
He's not.
It's really quiet.
It is really quiet.
It is. There was no air drumming during that intro. I was able to focus on what I was doing, trying not to laugh.
Well, he's going to have a go at me because I didn't put you off.
Yeah, you're failing, sir. Failing.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done one of these by ourselves, but it's episode 200-ish, James.
200-ish.
200-ish. It is officially episode 200, but we're not doing episode 2. In true Meeple-minded fashion, we are going to do things arse about face. We have skipped episode 200. We are currently in episode 201. So I guess we can sit here and go, I'll tell you what, James, episode 200 was amazing, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. It was.
It really was. It's something not to be missed.
It's so amazing he still hasn't told me exactly what it is yet.
And it's so amazing that I haven't even thought of what it is yet. That's why this is episode 201. But yeah, we could have done episode 200 today, but it's not really right to do it without the full team.
Yes, we cannot do episode 200 without the third voice.
Exactly. The third voice must be present for episode 200, and it gives me a little bit more time to think about what the hell we're actually going to do. It might be something...
you've said it on air now, but you've actually hyped it on air, so you have to pull something out the bag.
I don't know. I mean, at this point, it's probably going to be, we'll take a little look back, highlight the things that we liked doing over the 200, and maybe answer some questions or something like that. If people send us questions, I'm always happy for people to do that. We've done a Q&A type thing before. I can't remember if it was with yourself, but I know we've done one.
I think it was. I seem to have a memory of us doing that.
Yeah, we might do something like that, but unfortunately, I'd say this has crept up on us. It hasn't. I have to name all the episodes with the episode number, so it's not crept up on me. I mean, it has crept up on me, but it's taken 199 episodes to creep up on me. So, yeah, there's no excuse other than I just haven't had the time.
Yep,
haven't had the time. But there you go. Whatever. We will do an episode 200, but I'm going to call this 201. Expect episode 200 in 3-4 weeks or something like that. Totally when it shouldn't be, but will be. But James, it's a news episode.
News.
We haven't done one of these for a little while because lots of things have been happening. Myself and Ant obviously went on our jolly holidays. In fact, we were going there when we should have been doing the last news show.
Essen is just one big news, really.
It is, yeah, it is. And we've got a couple of stories today that have emanated from Spiel, or at least Spiel related. But yeah, not too much. I've tried to avoid too much Spiel stuff because I'm pretty sure people are fed up with it by now. But before we get to that, James, we need to talk about the games we played this time last year and essentially what would have been over the 2-month period, of which there are 3.
3
games, James. So we're going to smash through them nice and quick. What our opinions are about them a year on. So the first one, James, was Greenest Games Hijacked. Do you remember Hijacked?
I do remember Hijacked.
What are your memories of Hijacked?
Pushing the police back.
That's like real life, right? That's what we all do in real life.
Yes.
Yeah. Hijacked. It's still a game to me. I really like the artwork, obviously the Miko artwork. I liked the premise of that game. With the whole, there's a hijacked plane and you're playing the negotiators.
Yep.
But you're trying to negotiate with the terrorists on the plane to release hostages, as well as negotiating with the gun-ho SWAT team that are trying to storm the plane with no rhyme or reason, just kill everyone.
Yep.
A really good fun little game, because it was I want to say like a worker placement-y type deal, wasn't it, from what I remember?
Yeah, it was work, because you had the meeples that you could put down in certain areas.
Yeah, or something like that. And because you were using dice, weren't you? There was no...
That's
no
it.
meeples,
It was dice.
And the roll of the dice would give you certain things that you could and couldn't do.
Yeah, it was depending on the number.
Yeah. Now, the reason I'm talking about it in this way is because it's fair to say I don't think we've played it since, and I can confirm it has now left my collection. So that's not to say it's a bad game, because I still enjoyed the game. It's just I had a very big clear out, and that was one of the games to go.
I think I'd echo that sentiment that it was a very good game. I think what it suffered from is replayability, which is probably why it's exited your collection.
Yeah.
Once you've played it, the game doesn't really change.
Yeah, I mean, there was replay value to it, I guess, but not as much as I would require for it to stay in my collection. Because like I said, 80% of my games have gone. And replay value was indeed one of the factors that I was thinking about when it came to cutting that collection. So I can understand why Hijack may have gone, because yes, I still enjoyed it, but I wanted it to stay that way in my head rather than tarnish its reputation within my mind. So yeah, Hijacked a year on, James. Do you give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a sort of meh?
I still give it a thumbs up because I did enjoy it. It had some very strategic elements because you were cooperating but not cooperating, sort of.
Yeah, you kind of had to work together to push the SWAT team back, but other than that, it was go for as much as you can, but you still had to stay within point range or stuff.
It's also that dice rolling mechanic, because I think you had to roll the dice, and depending on what side was face up, determined which bit of the board you could put that dice on and do. So sometimes you couldn't do the action you wanted to do. You had to do another action, which is then indirectly going to benefit you more than it's going to benefit me. But then on your turn, the same might happen. Yeah,
exactly. And I think I'm going to give it a thumbs up as well. I really like the fact that the game did have some genuinely interesting and, to me at least, unique game mechanisms. The whole having to keep your points the same in order to be able to do something. Throughout the entire game, and that something being something you had to do. So that was good fun. A real balancing act of I want to win, but I can't physically win unless everyone pulls their fingers out their backside, basically.
Yep. And it also stops one person from running away with the game because it will prevent you from actually winning.
Yes, exactly. So that was Hijacked by Greenest Games. So the next one, James, we've actually played very, very recently, which was Paverson Games Distilled.
Indeed.
So, as I said, we have played this recently. Thoughts on Distilled a year on?
Still love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I've expanded it a bit more since then, haven't I?
Indeed.
We when we played recently, we played with the Africa expansion.
Yep.
We also played with the brand new Cask Strength expansion, as well as my new custom playmat.
Oh, the custom playmat.
So it's fair to say that I've gone a bit more in on Distilled here.
You have indeed. I mean, what can I say other than still absolute double thumbs up for that game? I love it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that what else is there to say, right?
Yeah.
It is a double thumbs up game for me.
And it is one of those games that we've put aside for a little while. So I think that also helped when we got it out the other day. And it was just, I've missed this game.
We'd had time to miss the game, right?
Yeah.
And because there was something fresh and new. The expansions don't add a huge amount to the game.
Yeah.
But you knew it was there. And you could see what it was and wasn't doing.
Yeah, especially the Cask Strength one, because I also like the fact that almost the same as the Ark Nova expansion, there's a little bit of bug fixing, quote unquote, with the way it's changed out some of the market cards.
Yes.
For updated ones. So I always appreciate when a game does that. Fixes a couple of overpowered cards and brings them a bit more in line and balances the game a little bit, as well as adding new stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sort of trying to think back to just the base version of Distilled, which is obviously what we would have been talking about this time last year. And as much as I like that expansion stuff, I could play the game easily. Without those expansions and still give it the double thumbs up.
Yeah.
Because I just genuinely think that game has a lot of legs to it. Now, again, it's another one of those games that if you're going to play it too often, you're probably going to start to sour on it a little bit, but you would with most games.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're only playing it every few months at this point, it's a very, very good game.
Yep.
Really, really enjoy it. I know my partner still enjoys it, so I'm happy to say that one is firmly in my collection with no chance of being anywhere near the sale.
Yeah, and it still has an absolute ton of replayability in there with the different characters and their abilities. The different flight cards, so you could have different recipes. I mean, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and there's a hell of a lot now, isn't there?
Yeah, with different drink combinations that you can make. So the replayability in that game is just amazingly good.
It is. It is. So, I think that was a double thumbs up from both of us for Distilled.
Yep.
And even more so with the new expansions that have been added in there. So the third and final game, James, that we talked about this time last year was actually an expansion for a game.
Yep.
That we had previously talked about, which was Ludonauts Living Forest Kodama expansion.
Another game we have played fairly recently.
We have. Again, this is another game that I have somewhat expanded on since then. I've bought a lovely UV printed MDF insert for it. And I also invested in the official playmat for it.
Jason has been indulging in his neoprene addiction.
I have indeed. But when we're talking about this game, those things have just made things far nicer, far easier, lots more quality of life upgrades, because it's all just set up on the table in 3 minutes, and we were out playing. So let's talk about the game. What are our thoughts on the game a year on? Despite the fact that we have obviously played it recently. James.
Indeed. It's another one of those games that I still enjoy every time it comes to the table. As we're talking specifically about the Kodama expansion, I really like the Kodama cards. I like the new trees that were added to it. Gave it a lot more variety. The added cards that go into the deck increase your replayability. Having... I can't remember what the character's name is, but the antagonist on the circular board, who does stuff when he jumps over you.
Yeah, the name escapes me.
Yeah,
but I know the one you mean.
Yeah, the person, the spirit that's trying to burn the forest down.
Yes. Does more so in with the expansion, doesn't he? Really?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think for me the expansion has actually added so much to that game. Like, I thought the game was good anyway.
Yeah.
But the expansion really took it to the next level. I liked the fact that it sort of dealt with, I wouldn't say an issue from the first incantation of the game, but, where they took the lotus flowers, which in the original base game were just a victory condition, took those and made them do other things. Yeah. Was just sort of like, okay, now you've taken what was the hardest victory to achieve and made it worthwhile to try and achieve it, because I can also do other stuff with it.
Yeah, and that's probably my favourite aspect of it, because the lotus flowers always just seem like, why am I ever going to go for this victory condition unless I'm literally handed it, because it doesn't benefit me in any way.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. A year on. Doesn't get the double thumbs up because it isn't one of my favourite games of all time, but it is still a firm favourite. It's still firmly in my collection and will be for some time to come.
Yeah.
What about you?
Echo that sentiment. Solid thumbs up.
Nice. So that's the games we talked about last year, James. Should we talk about some games that we have been playing this month?
Yeah.
I guess this past couple of months, because we didn't do this last month.
For me, as we established before we went on air, I'll just write off September.
It wasn't a particularly good month.
It wasn't a good gaming month for me. October has been a far better gaming month, so I would limit mine to October.
Nice. Well, I will actually be choosing a game from this month as well. So I'm going to let you go first, James, seeing as though your list of games that you have played is probably substantially shorter than mine.
Yep.
But yeah, what's a game that you have played this month that you want to particularly highlight as a game that you either enjoyed or didn't enjoy?
There's a couple of juicy choices on that list.
Ooh, okay.
Most of the games that I've played this month have been brand new.
Yep.
To myself. Never played them before, so they're very much first impressions. but I think with a bit of arm twisting, I'm going to have to go with Worms.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I actually didn't think you were going to go for that one, so that's a good choice.
Okay, out of interest, which one did you think I was going to choose?
I narrowed it down that you were going to either choose Tower Up or... Do you know what? No, I reckon you were going to go for Tower Up.
It was a choice of 3, and Tower Up was on there, and River Valley Glassworks was the other one, because I actually really enjoyed that when we played it with Ant.
Nice.
But yeah, Worms. I mean, what's not to love about Worms? It is the classic computer game that we all know and love in board game form, and it was hilarious.
Yeah. Was there anything in particular that stood out to you about the game?
How much they have captured the wackiness of the game. Because video game to board game translations are a bit hit and miss.
Yes, 100%, yeah.
Even with all the theming, they sometimes and the other way around, I will say that as well. You know, video board game to video game conversions, they sometimes miss the essence of what the game was in its original form. But I think the guys who have developed Worms, the board game, have done a standout job capturing the feel of that game. It is just hilariously funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy I bought that game. Now I'm unhappy because I didn't back the Kickstarter and get the all-in stuff. But I did go and buy the retail. And what comes in the retail I think is enough. Because from my understanding the Kickstarter version doesn't give you all that much extra. It's just more sculpts of miniatures, more miniatures, typical crowdfunding thing, is like sometimes less is more. And I think a game like Worms is not going to see the table that often, but it'll see it often enough to warrant owning.
Yeah.
And for me, since we've played it, James, I've actually invested time into painting said miniatures, which I haven't done for a very, very long time. So I think that sort of explains my level of how much I quite like the game.
I mean, I wonder if you had the same feeling I did when the first time when you were unboxing it and you flushed out those cards, how many memories of playing Worms? I remember that weapon.
Yep. Yeah. And even, to be honest with you, I got that and I went and downloaded Worms to play, in my spare time. And I don't play phone games, it is on my phone that I play it. I'm tempted to get one on the computer, but they are quite expensive on the computer.
It's where they've reached retro classic status now, so
yeah, they hold that price point.
I think I still have Worms, the PlayStation 1 game somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure I've got it somewhere, and I'm sure my PS1 is around somewhere.
Oh, my original first gen PS1 is preserved. But yeah, and it still works. It's still amazing. And like I said, I've got the Worms disc somewhere.
Yeah.
I think it's up in my loft. I might have to go dig that out.
But I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it, James. So as a first impression, so are you looking at? I'm guessing a thumbs up on that one, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to play it again.
We will get that to the table soon because I would quite like to do an episode on that, and I think especially once we get Anthony in on that as well, we can have a good laugh.
Yep.
Talking about that. So there you go. Good choice, sir. Good choice. It's not the one I thought you were going to choose, but I'm actually very happy that you did. So for me, I am going to choose... Now, this was a tough decision because I've played some good games this month. And I actually want to talk about a game that I have actually recorded a video for, and that should be coming out within the next couple of weeks. Which was my biggest surprise of Essen, which was actually Repost Productions' Fairy Ring.
Yes.
Now, you did play this one with me, James.
Indeed.
This game was one that was introduced to me by the publisher. They ran us through the game, and I'll be honest, I always hold my hands up and be honest about this and say I had zero interest in this theme. I had zero interest in the game, full stop. However, when it was being explained to me, I was hooked. The premise of the game hooked me. I was like, I actually really like that. That's a very strategic thinky type game. The theme, all right, I can take it or leave it. But do you know what? The theme works for that game. So, yeah, Fairy Ring. I won't talk about it too much because, as I said, I have done a video on it. But basically, Fairy Ring, you are building a mushroom village, which is ultimately part of a ring of mushrooms, which is known apparently as a fairy ring. And you can, when you're playing mushrooms to your village, you're basically trying to create a set of mushrooms within your village, which when people land on it, it scores you points. And how they would land on it is when you play that mushroom, it comes with a movement value, and you have to move your fairy that amount of spaces. Now, of course, that means that eventually your fairy is going to land in someone else's mushroom village and score them points. But I like that because it's like, I really want to play this mushroom because it's going to get me epic points when someone lands on it, but I'm going to land on James's one that's going to get him loads of points. But what do I do, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that was absolutely... When you got that out at the gaming club and you started setting it up, and I was looking at the artwork on the cards, and I was just, I'll hold my hands up and go, meh.
Yeah.
That was my reaction on seeing it for the first time, was meh. Yeah. And then we played it.
Yeah.
And I was hooked.
Yeah.
Like you said, it is very... I want to play this card, but if I play it, it's going to move me. I'm going to land on Jason's really built up one, and he's going to get more points than I am, and I don't know if I can live with that.
Yeah, yeah. It really makes you question your moral existence.
Yeah.
Is that game.
This card is going to benefit me in 3 moves, but by playing it, Jason is going to benefit massively now.
Yes, yeah.
Can I recover from that?
Yeah, and I love, again, I'm trying not to say too much about it, but I love the different ways you can play the game as well.
Yep.
Do you go all in on building your mushrooms tall?
Yep.
So that they score maximum points when someone lands on them, but have a much smaller village?
Yep.
Or do you go small mushrooms, large village to try and capitalise on players being forced to stop multiple times?
I also like the 2 decks, the way that at the halfway point of the game, the movement values increase.
Yes.
To account for the fact that the villages are starting to grow.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there's definitely a lot of strategic gameplay, and that's what I like about it. It's a very lightweight game. It could easily be played with families. Kids won't be completely demolished if they don't play strategically, and that's what I like. You can bumble through this game and still stand a chance of winning, or you can play it super strategic and still have a good chance of winning, but not guaranteed.
Yep.
It's really, really good. I think it's really well designed, but if you want to hear all of my thoughts on that, watch the video when it comes out on the channel. So, James, there's a lot of news to talk about, so we are going to go and jump straight into the news and hopefully not overrun on time this month. But as I'm sure everyone is aware, a lot of news is going to have come out from Spiel, so we're going to do a couple of stories from Spiel or about Spiel, and then we'll move on to a few others that have happened within the industry. James, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. So let's go with the first story. As I said, we are going to start off with some Spiel news, as it's big and newsworthy as far as I'm concerned, because we have covered it a couple of times, but much like Gen Con, Spiel did sell out this year. It sold out every single one of the days, so all 4 days. It is reported that they sold over 204,000 tickets this year, which is why it sold out every single day. Now, there are some notable facts that I wanted to mention, and this is the reason I wanted to talk about this story, because 204,000 sounds really like a lot of people, right? But pre-COVID, 2019, they actually did 209,000 tickets. So this is the first time it's ever sold out, but it's actually not a record-breaking year for tickets sold. And the main reason is because there has been some law changes within Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we talked a little bit about that because the Twizzly potatoes that everyone loves at Spiel weren't there this year. That was as a result of a certain law change. But the cap on people being allowed into Spiel each day this year was actually, in fact, because of some new legislations and stuff that prohibited them from basically having an unlimited amount of people,
Yeah.
right, which they previously had. So they were capping people at around 50,000 a day. That's still a lot of people, though, right?
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people think 50,000 was, a football stadium holds, 100,000 in some of them, the bigger ones?
The bigger ones, yeah. I think
the majority of them are probably 60,000, I would say, roughly. That's a lot of people, but they're all stood still, or sat still.
Yeah.
50,000 people moving about, that's a whole different beast, right? So, James, where do we think we stand on this? Because that, I'm trying to remember, I think, if memory serves correctly, UK Games Expo has about 30,000 people per day.
Yeah.
In and around 30, 35. So, considering we talked about it not that long ago, and we said how much bigger Spiel is, how do you feel about 50,000?
Yeah, I mean, it's still 20,000 people. 20,000 people is a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really comment on scale as I've never seen Spiel, like stood in front of it and actually taken in the size of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, 30,000 people a day packed into the NEC is tight.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a bit of a hard one to judge, having never been there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, capping it, I mean, that's nothing new to us because our venues are capped. Always have been for safety reasons. They have a capacity. They're not allowed to go over it.
Yeah. See, I mean, they say that the cap was 50,000 a day. And I was joking around with someone the other day and I was just sort of like, 50,000 people a day, 4 days, 204,000 tickets. The math doesn't add up there. There's 4,000.
Staff.
No. These were tickets.
Oh, tickets.
That was tickets, not including staff. So, yeah, the math doesn't add up there, but I sort of had the conversation, and I actually agree with the conversation that maybe that's a case of 50,000 is the cap, but they are fully aware that a lot of people will be in and out.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people do go there, they buy their games, and they're gone. So, I guess you could argue that maybe first thing in the morning, they maybe stretch it a little bit to have more, or do they just sort of go, it's 50,000, tickets per day, but...
Maybe it's also 50,000 general admission tickets per day. Maybe that overall count includes VIPs, special guests, that kind of thing. Yeah. Because they might have their own area that they can escape to and that kind of thing. So they're not included in general admission.
Yeah. I mean, 100% they have that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, 50,000 people, I know you haven't seen it in person, James. I would say, the bulk of it at all times is in that main hall 3. And you feel it. You do feel it, and you could sort of say, I really wish it was lower than 50,000, but do you know what? It wasn't unbearable. It was busy. It was not comfortable, but it wasn't unbearable. So I think 50,000 is a nice figure for them to hit. The real question is, if they're going to continue doing that in the future, which I assume they will, how is it going to affect things going forward? Because obviously, even this year, there was reports of people that turned up, they booked all their flights, booked all their holiday, their accommodation, as they always have done, and bought tickets on the day, never had a problem. This year was obviously a problem. They weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not something I could ever do. Like, if I know I'm going somewhere, I'm booking hotels and booking flights, what's an extra £50 to buy the tickets in advance?
Yeah.
So I don't personally understand that, but, I'm not going to slate anyone who does.
It's more, I think, on that, like you said, it's habit. It's like the people who do that are probably people who just almost discovered Spiel by accident. Like, they were on holiday for something else and they've come across it, sort of thing, and gone, oh, what's this?
Maybe.
And then decided to make a thing of it, but they've already, from their first occasion, gone, oh yeah, you can buy tickets on the door.
Yeah.
I'm very much like yourself. It's sort of like a big event like that. It's like, no, I'm guaranteeing my tickets.
Well, I mean, like, a perfect example for us, really, is UK Games Expo this year. This coming year. Their tickets go on sale start of December, and we don't usually buy our tickets till sort of February time. And that's if we're going to buy tickets, because, we have been lucky and have been granted press passes in previous years, which we, again, very, very grateful we don't have to pay for. Makes it a lot easier for us to get there to do the content. But this year, I'm not going to lie, it's on my mind of, I think I might buy tickets in December just to make sure that I've got tickets. Because if we don't get granted those press passes, I've got a hotel that I can't get refunded. So it's a possibility. I'm definitely going to have to consider that. But yeah, it's interesting. Be interesting to see if they do sell out this year. But anyway, we'll move on from talking about the sellout of Spiel and just finish off with Spiel by announcing, obviously, that they did say at the convention that Spiel will be moving its dates next year. So it's gone from the start of October towards the end, which is October the 23rd to the 26th, or something along those lines. It's around that sort of time. Now, we'll have a very quick discussion about this, James, because I'm interested to hear your thoughts on why they may have done this. I personally think that this might be to capitalise on the half term, because that is half term week in both the UK and Germany. So, do you think that's something that they're doing? Because, I mean, the other thing to factor in, Oktoberfest is the culmination of Oktoberfest. It's a very busy week in Germany. Do you think they're doing it to capitalise on that?
I mean, that's why I don't know if the mic caught that, my sharp intake of breath. It's like, you're clashing with Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
That's a risky strategy.
Yeah.
Because that's huge.
It is.
Yes, you will capitalise on the dual half terms in the UK and Germany. I question the logic of that. If your attendance is capped and you manage to sell out this year, there's no reason to believe you won't already sell out next year.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that we have to think about, as travellers, international travellers, we are. You move to a school holiday, and the price of travel immediately jumps. It does, as does accommodation. And accommodation prices haven't actually gone up at the time of recording for next year, but around that time, I've tried to go to Germany around that time in the past. The prices are high because they know people want to be there for Oktoberfest. So it's a risky move, in my opinion, for those international travellers.
I question the biggest one there that I question is clashing Oktoberfest. That's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that it will, because I think they'd sell out just on the homegrown board gamers, shall we say. But yeah, it is the biggest one in the world that is an international fair. So it is risky, potentially alienating the international set.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see. So let's move on to other news in the industry now, and what, in my opinion, could be described as a small step for man, but a giant leap for board game designers, as the recently launched Tabletop Game Designers Association have managed their first victory after US retail giant Barnes & Noble have agreed and also started to include board game designer names in the listings on board game sales pages. This is a trait that we have seen for years when we think about published books, musical media like CDs, etc., having artists listed and credited in all of their online listings. So what do we think? What do we think about this? Was it something that was really needed? And I'm guessing, well, in fact, I'm not guessing, I know for a fact, the hope is other giants that sell board games like Amazon, Target, that kind of thing will soon follow suit to ensure that not only the publishers are listed, but also the designers and I guess maybe artists in the future? What do we think?
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say it's a good thing, because it's actually been something that's grinded me in the past whenever I've seen a board game that doesn't credit the designer or the designers. Hasbro, looking at you. They never, ever credit designers, and I don't think that's right. But, we obviously don't live in the States, so we don't have Barnes & Noble here, we don't have Target, we obviously have Amazon here. But would that be something like, James, I know you don't buy a lot of games, but if you were to buy a game and you knew you liked a particular designer, would that be something you'd like to see on a listing to sort of go, oh, I like that guy.
Yeah.
His games are pretty good.
Yeah, I think it is, but it's like you've already brought up the example. It's like a lot of people buy their books like that because they like particular authors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or film directors. You know, you've got fans of certain directors who will search out that particular director's films. Board gamers are no different.
Yeah. People have their tastes.
Yeah, and they should be credited. Mm-hmm. If they've designed the game, their name should be credited somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's become commonplace now, mostly commonplace, that they're credited on the boxes and stuff like that. You know, generally your friendly local game stores, places that are dedicated to gaming will always mention designers and things like that. But I think to have the big boys starting to pay attention to it and actually pay attention to what is ultimately a brand new organisation is interesting. And I think that is, as I said, I think it's a giant leap.
It is. I mean, it's from the sound of it, obviously I've not, you know, hold my hand up here, I've not done any looking into what this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds very close to effectively a board game designers union.
Essentially, yeah, it's just a group of designers that have just sort of got together and sort of gone, you know, there's things that need to change in the industry, and this is one.
It's basically within touching distance of being a board game designers union, which is good because, you know, at the end of the day, no matter what your views on that kind of thing are, it's like collective bargaining is quite a powerful thing, and that's why those big names will have stood up and paid attention, because it's like, well, hang on a minute, if this association holds, or if the big boys of game designer are members of this, that could be a problem for us if they kick off effectively.
Yeah. It does make me wonder why some of the bigger board game consortiums, shall we say, like Gamma and stuff, haven't tried to do this in the past, or maybe they have and haven't succeeded.
Yeah.
But, I think I agree with you. I think it's definitely coming down to a case of, well, you know, Barnes & Noble especially, they've become quite well known within the board game industry in the US for selling games, you know, and are all over the US, so they're a big store. And it would not go well for them in business if certain designers refused their games to be published in or sold in certain locations. You know, if they want the credit for their games because they've put in a lot of work for that.
Yeah.
You know, not just the publishers. Yes, the publishers should definitely be mentioned, but I do also think that designers, and I would like this to extend to artists as well, because while, yes, the game designers are the key things behind the games, we've said it time and time again, the art is what draws people in.
Yeah.
Once you're in, that's where the game takes over, but the art is the frontline defense against people's resistance to games.
Yep.
If they can break that down, that's why artists should be in. So that is my plea. I want artists also on that list going forward. But do you think companies like Amazon will take note of this and potentially do it?
Maybe.
Mr. Bezos.
Yeah, well, Amazon's just a level above everything else, isn't it? It's just...
Yeah.
I mean, if they decided to be completely and utterly ruthless, a company the size of Amazon with a stock listing as varied as Amazon could go, you won't let us sell your board game?
All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've got a warehouse the size of 5 football pitches that's full of stuff, but you won't let me sell your board game.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
That unfortunately I think would be Amazon's reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate to say it, but I do think I agree with you with regards to Amazon. But I would like to think that, you know, companies like Target, which is essentially akin to our like Tesco, I believe. You know, Walmart obviously sell games as well, so I don't know whether they list stuff like that. I haven't looked. But, you know, I think Barnes & Noble's the big one that people assimilate with board games, modern board games. So the fact that they're doing it, I think, is great.
Yeah, I would say, though, I'm not so sure. As much as I agree with what you said, I'm not so sure about whether you'll get artist accreditation on the box. Because, going back to your book analogy, what's the things you normally get advertised on the front of a book? Publisher and author.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, a lot of games do have the artist on there now, but yeah, I mean, when it comes to books, you think about it, the illustrations are listed inside.
Yes.
Not on the cover.
And it could be the same with board games. The full accreditation is usually, if it's going to be anywhere, is in the rulebook.
In the rulebook somewhere, yeah. Well, like I said, I'm happy. You know, like I said, a lot of games do have the artists on the cover themselves. So hopefully that is something I'd like to see. But I definitely feel that artists should be mentioned.
Oh yeah, they should.
On the online listing.
I 100% agree with you on the fact that it's like 9 times out of 10, it's the art that draws you to the game.
Yeah,
it's the art that makes you pick the box up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, there has been a shift in the industry, James.
A shift in the industry?
A shift in the industry. So, I know you don't pay much attention to publishers and stuff like that, but Matago Games, when I say games like Inesh, Kemet, that is Matago Games, right? They're very well known for their nice, heavy, sometimes crunchy games. But they have recently announced that they are shifting their focus in the industry to focus its attentions on lighter, family and child-friendly games. The publisher, as I said, is well known for its heavier titles such as Kemet, Inesh and Yucatan, and commented that even when it was releasing lighter games, the assumption by the public is that it would be a heavier game and were then dismayed when it was found to not be the case. So yeah, they're going to shift their public perception is what they're trying to do, James. They're going to go to family and lightweight games. What do we think? Interesting move? Why do you think they're making that move?
I mean, it's an interesting move. They must have some metrics to back up the fact that this is what people want. Otherwise, it's a very silly move.
Yeah.
If they've established themselves in the medium to heavyweight category and they're completely shifting focus, they have to ultimately believe that they can pick up the business from that side of it, because the people who are used to their games will not like this decision.
No, and I think I would say it's a bold move, like to really sort of take your reputation and go, that reputation's nice, but do you know what? We don't really want that reputation. We want this reputation.
Yeah, but it's a hell of a gamble, because it's like you've dug yourself a nice spot in that medium to heavyweight, and that's what people know you for.
If people know you for something, it means you have your niche.
Yeah.
Right? You have your niche. To then go against the niche is a risky
It is,
move.
but you're also resetting, because in that category, you're established. People know who you are. You shift into the family games, you're effectively the new guy on the block.
Yeah.
And there are other more well-known publishers already established in that area. So that's why I think it's a hell of a gamble, because it's like you're basically resetting back to zero.
Yeah. And I think my final real comments on this are going to be, it makes me wonder what the direction of the industry as a whole is, because to go against your niche, to go against your established fan base, tells me that the insight on the inside of the industry is that family and lighter weight games is the trend. That's where people are going now. Maybe that niche of heavier games is just that. It's a very, very small niche within a niche hobby.
Yeah.
And to maximise profits, that's obviously the direction they need to go. And maybe it's a long vision. Maybe they see that that's what's coming, and that now is the time they had to make the move, because otherwise it would have been too risky.
Yeah.
Who knows? But makes me wonder, because we're definitely seeing more lightweight family games hitting the market recently. So maybe, just maybe. So just very quickly on that, those of you that are fans of their heavier titles, yes, they are coming out of production or already out of production. However, they have done deals with both Colossal Games and Grail Games to take on those heavier titles that people like. So Inish, Kemet, all of that, they will still be available, but they are going to be transitioning over to either Colossal Games or Grail Games. Right, so we're moving on to our last story for the month now, James. And this one has been somewhat of a roller coaster. Since the start of the month, I've been keeping up with this. I was really umming and ahhing as to whether I was going to put this in, but I do feel I need to. At the start of the month, multiple news outlets reported that Mythic Games, the, I'm going to use air quotes here, troubled publisher that has had various issues in the past with its crowdfunding games, needing more money to see projects through, firing all their permanent staff 2 years ago, blah, blah, blah. Lots of things go on with Mythic Games. But apparently they were reporting that the company had indeed gone into bankruptcy and was starting the liquidation process. To which everyone went, shock, horror. However, it is now being reported by Board Game Wire that this is in fact false after a French legal notice was published in a news publication was misinterpreted. However, the company co-founder for Mythic Games has confirmed, and I'm quoting here, that the business had been waiting on payments from creditors for several months and was currently working on unspecified, air quotes, last resort measures. He said he expected to be able to say by the end of October whether Mythic can continue operating. So I guess we should cover at this point, the date today is the 24th of October, so they've still got a few days to do this, but as of yet we have not had any further information. James, How do we feel about this? Mythic Games, I don't think you've ever played a Mythic game, but they are big box games, lots of miniatures, lots of plastic. Almost every Kickstarter that I know of that they've ever done has had troubles. It's always delivered late. They've nearly always asked for more money to get the product to the customers. Lots of things they just misjudge all the time. And 2 years ago, they fired all their permanent staff. And ever since then, they've been working with freelancers. What do we feel about Mythic and their potential demise?
They sound like a lovely company.
I'll give them their credit. They do some damn good games.
Yeah, but, that doesn't make up for the fact that, how do I phrase this in a remotely family-friendly way? It sounds like a bit of a naff company to work for.
Yeah.
They sound like cowboys of the board gaming world, and it's ended the same way that all cowboy business has gone. By the sound of it, it's like, okay, so it's been misinterpreted. They haven't gone down the drain, but they're circling it.
Yes, yeah. I sort of said, who was I talking to? I can't remember who I was talking to about it, but I was saying that they've been skirting the pan of the toilet for quite some time.
Yeah, and someone's about to pull the flush.
Now they're sort of in the flush and fighting, clawing to not go round the U-bend.
Yep.
Basically, is how I described it.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm kind of indifferent to the news. I don't own any Mythic games.
Yeah, it's one of those. Do they currently have any active crowdfunders?
I don't know. I believe they do.
Yeah,
I believe they have some games that are not fulfilling.
Yeah, which is immediately.
I know that they did have a few, and they recently asked for more money to fulfill a project.
Yep.
It was another one of those. We've produced the games. They're done. They're ready to go. The shipping has gone up. We can't afford it. Can you give us some more money towards the shipping? Blah, 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 blah. And by all accounts, they raised enough money, so that will be fulfilled, apparently. But obviously, this news is making people question that decision.
Yep.
But they are still standing strong. They're still saying, we will fulfill this crowdfunding campaign. But to my understanding, they've also got another outstanding campaign, which is currently in production.
Yep.
So one would assume that all the bills have been paid for that, but we're going to have another situation of the price of the shipping has gone up. We've got no money left.
Yep.
We need more money. So yeah, I really struggle when I read stories like this, because I don't want to see any company go under, especially when they make these big and wonderful games. But at the same time, I'm sitting here and I'm like, every few months we get a story about Mythic, how they need more money, how they've done this, blah blah blah. So it's like the drama board game company.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the whole industry kind of functions better without that kind of negativity going on.
Absolutely.
You know, we sit here and sort of sing the praises of crowdfunding occasionally, you know, and I still do. But when you've got a stain on the crowdfunding like Mythic, it makes that whole argument a lot harder.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, crowdfunding is a wonderfully useful tool.
Yes.
Especially for the smaller publishers who cannot generate the kind of capital needed to put these games into production on their own.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of people, I think, still haven't quite wrapped their head around the concept of this is an investment.
Yeah.
You're not
guaranteed a product.
You're not guaranteed a product. Therefore, you're not. I always say, I bought this on crowdfunding. No, you didn't. You invested in a product on crowdfunding. And like all investments, it might go bad.
Yeah. That again.
You have not bought. You have not pre-ordered. You have invested.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? And this is why I get really angry with companies using it as a pre-order platform, because you are confusing the issue.
Yes.
You are making people think that is a pre-order platform. It is not. It may be for you, but it is not for other companies.
No.
And they might not fulfill. If you have trained someone into thinking, oh, it's a pre-order, it's a long-standing pre-order, they then see another game they like the look of and go, oh, I'll pre-order that. So, well, no, this is an investment. You may not receive this product. It is an investment. It is in no means a guaranteed purchase.
Yep.
You know, I've had games that haven't turned up. Yes, I'm sour. Yes, I'm sour about it.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I invested money into a company. The company wasn't able to fulfill on what they said that they wanted to do.
Yep.
For various reasons. I don't believe that they were, you know, con merchants or anything like that. I know I've accused them of that in the past, but I don't genuinely believe that. You know, they were overcome, cost spiral, they couldn't afford it, they didn't know what to do, they ran away. You know, whatever. That was the risk. And yes, I'm out of a lot of money for that. But the fact of the matter is that is crowdfunding, not a pre-order platform. So, yeah, as I said, I am in two minds with regards to Mythic. I don't want anyone to go. I don't want any publisher to be suffering. I don't want anyone losing their jobs, anything like that. I really hope that they don't disappear because I want people to get the games that they've purchased. But the fact of the matter is, if they can pull this out of the bag and survive, this needs to be the lesson that they pay attention to and go, we need to do something drastically different because we can't do this anymore.
Yep.
I'm not sure that they will learn that lesson. So there you go.
Yep.
That was a little bit of a mini rant.
It was a bit of a mini rant, but yes, it is once again impressing on people understand what crowdfunding really is. It is that it is funding. It is an investment. It is not a pre-order. Mm-hmm. You are guaranteed nothing.
Yeah. Exactly. But there we go. We actually managed to keep it in time, James.
Yay!
Bang on an hour. Boom. That was successful. And there was so much news this month. I had to really, really work hard to get that down to the small amount of stories that we covered there. But they were the big ones for me. Most interesting ones that were worth discussing. But yeah, what about you, James? Have you got any news that you want to bring up? No. Excellent. That means we can actually finish on time. No idea what next week's episode is going to be about. We will figure that out hopefully this week because I've actually got a week off now. Ooh, I've got about half a day of work tomorrow and then I'm off for a week. I'm a happy man. So yeah, James, we're going to play a game.
We are.
We're going to play a game. Are you looking forward to it?
I am.
Because this is another new game to you, isn't it? Yeah, we'll probably talk about that at some point soon as well. But anyway, I've got to do that promotion thing now. So, you know, if you are still here, great. Thank you very much. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do go and subscribe to that. I am pushing that as much as I possibly can. Looks like we're going to be doing videos every 2 weeks on that one. You can also listen to this podcast on YouTube, which is helpful. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, please do that as well. Even better. Like and do all that stuff on the Facebook and Instagram. And I'm not good at this stuff, right? Self-promotion is not my best seat.
Find the button that says like and click on it.
Exactly. If it says Meeple Minded, find a like button around it and just hit it. Hit it as hard as you possibly can. Or what is it, the Twitch stream and say, smash that button. Just no.
In other news, local podcasts sued for multiple breaking of screens.
Now that would be funny. That would be funny. But yes, let's head off, James. Till next week, I have been Jason.
And I've been James.
You have been listening to the Meeple Minded. Join us next time for more tabletop gaming and goodness. Ta-ta and goodbye.